All right, so these are your answers to the review for test 3-2. That test is on Friday, February 14th. Extra help will be on Thursday, February 13th for an hour after school. For number 1, solve for the missing variable. So this is just a little practice with SOHCAHTOA really quick. So here, your 47 degrees is right here. 24 is across from the right angle, so that's your hypotenuse. And then x is right next to the angle, so that's your adjacent. So a and h, that's ka in SOHCAHTOA, so it would be cosine of 47 degrees is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, I know in class we were working with radians, so make sure this is 47 degrees. You are in degree mode. So you would do 24 times the cosine of 47, and that'll give you, rounded to the nearest hundredth, 16.37 is the value of x. That's just SOHCAHTOA. For number 2, if point A is on the unit circle, determine sine, cosine, and tangent. So because we're on the unit circle, we have those rules that the y value is the sine of theta, the x value is the cosine of theta, and then tangent is y over x. So for this, sine of theta is the y value, which is negative 1/3. Cosine of theta is 2 square root 2 over 3. And then tangent of theta, we have a little bit of work to do to clean it up. So tangent of theta is sine all over cosine. Then we do keep, change, flip. So we have negative 1/3 times 3 over 2 square root 2. The 3's cancel. We get negative 1 over 2 square root 2. But we multiply that by the square root of 2 on the top and the bottom, which gives me negative 1 square root 2 over 2 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, that's 2, so over 4. So the tangent of theta is negative square root 2 over 4. That's for number 2. For number 3, we're going to use the same rules, but we're going to go the opposite way. So I give you theta, and I want to know what is the actual point rounded to the nearest thousand. So to figure out the x value, because we're on the unit circle, you would do the cosine of the angle, which is 140, to figure out the x, and to figure out the y, you would do the sine of 140. So again, rounded to the nearest thousandth, make sure you're in the correct mode. Again, this is degrees, so cosine of 140, rounded to the nearest thousandth, is negative 0.766. And then the sine of 140 gives me 0.643. 4 through 6, this is kind of like that quiz that I had given you earlier in the week, so you just need to know these exact values. So the sine of 90 is 1, of 30 is 1/2, 60 square root 3 over 2, and 270 negative 1. Cosine of 60, that would be 1/2. 45 degrees is square root 2 over 2. Cosine 180, negative 1. Cosine 90, 0. If you are plugging these into the calculator, memorizing the decimals, that's okay. Just remember that your answer is going to be the exact value, okay? And then for tangent, 0 for 0. Tangent of 270 is undefined. Tangent of 45 is 1, and tangent of 30 is the square root of 3 over 3. And then for 7, rewrite the following as the function of a positive acute angle. So this is really saying the tangent of 300 degrees is the same thing as the tangent of what? So you would have to figure out the reference angle. So 300 degrees is in quadrant 4, and it's 60 away from the x-axis. So the tangent of 300 is the same thing as the tangent of 60. But because tangent in quadrant 4 is negative, you have to negate the tangent of 60 degrees. For number 8, it's the same question, but now we're talking about the sine of 150. So 150, that's in quadrant 2, right? It's 30 degrees away from the x-axis, which would be at 180. So the sine of 150 is the same thing as the sine of 30, and then the sine of 150 should be positive because sine is positive in quadrant 2. Sine of 30 is also going to be positive because that's in quadrant 1. So you do not have a negative in front of this answer. For the next two questions, find the value of theta, round to the nearest degree. So cosine of theta is negative 0.3420. So now we're looking for the degree measure. So this is where you hit second to do the inverse. So ignore the negative. You're going to do second cosine of 0.3420. And whatever that is, it will be your reference angle. So if you do that, your reference angle rounded to the nearest whole will be 70 degrees. Now, we don't want 70 degrees though. We want what's equivalent to 70 degrees in quadrant 3. So this is my angle in quadrant 3. My reference angle is 70. So the entire thing would be 180 plus 70, which would be 250 degrees. For number 10, same deal. You would press second tangent, 0.3640, ignore the negative, and that will tell you the reference angle. The reference angle for this one is rounded to 20 degrees. So then in quadrant 2, this here is 20 degrees, this little piece here. So you would do 180, but you would back up 20 degrees, and that would give you that theta is equal to 160 degrees for number 10. Number 11, I'm hearing bad things about. So before you get started with number 11, doing any like operations with the laws of exponents, change your radicals into fractional exponents. So what I mean by this, the cubed root of a to the 5th is really a raised to the 5/3 power, divided by the square root of a to the 7th is really a raised to the 7/2 power, all raised to the -1/2. So now you have two options. You can raise both pieces to the -1/2 power, or you could do the division inside the parentheses by subtracting the exponents. So if I go ahead and I do that, 5/3 minus 7/2 gives you -11/6. So I have a to the -11/6 raised to the -1/2 power. So now, power to power, I would multiply these two. If I do -11/6 times -1/2, that'll give me a to the 11/12 power. Now you could either write it like this because it doesn't say simplest radical form, or you could write the 12th root of a to the 11th and put it back into its radical form. Either one I would accept because it's not specific whether it wants rational exponents or radical form as your final answer. Number 12, we have a system of equations. This is a circle and a line. So for my line, I'm going to rewrite this as x equals -2y minus 5. I'm going to take this piece and plug it in for x in the other equation. So then I have -2y minus 5 squared is really -2y times -2y minus 5 times -2y minus 5 plus y squared equals 25. I double distribute and I get 4y squared plus 10y is plus 20y plus 25 plus y squared equals 25. I clean up the left side and I also subtract the 25 over, and that would be 5y squared plus 20y equals 0. GCF is 5y. I'm left with y plus 4. Or you could do quadratic formula if you wanted to. But either way, you should end up with y is equal to 0 and y is equal to -4. So again, you have two answers, two coordinates. One of them is something comma 0 and the other is something comma -4. You still have to figure out the x value. So this is where this box comes into play, what I boxed up here. X equals -2y minus 5. X equals -2y minus 5. I plug in 0 and -4 in for y. So when y is 0, you get x is negative 5. So this point is negative 5 comma 0. Oh, this should be an x. And when y is negative 4, x should be equal to 3. So you get two answers, negative 5 comma 0 and 3 comma negative 4. Number 13, you deposit you deposit $8,500 into an account that pays 2.1% interest compounded quarterly. So compounded quarterly, your compound interest formula, if it's not continuously, is this. R over n raised to the nt power. Algebraically determine how long it would take for the account to obtain $11,400. So we're looking for how long it'll take. So our final amount, we want it to reach $11,400. P is $8,500. 1 plus R, make sure you move the decimal over twice, 0.021, over, we're compounded quarterly, so n is 4, raised to the 4t. So first step, you're going to do 11,400 divided by 8,500. You get 1.34117 equals, if you want to clean that up, the 1 plus 0.021 over 4, you can if you want, would be 1.00525. You don't have to. Raised to the 4 times t. So then you take the log of both sides. That way you can bring down the exponent on the right side. So you have the log of that equals 4t log of 1.00525. You divide by the log of 1.00525. So it'll cancel over here. Remember, you're not rounding early in your calculators. And you get 56.06039 is equal to 4t. Then you can divide by 4. We're rounding to the nearest tenth, so divided by 4. Final answer should be 14.01, which is 14.0 years. Number 14, solve algebraically. So we have the square root of something. So whenever you have a radical equation, you are going to get the radical by itself. So here, it's already done. So you can go ahead and get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. So this is 30 minus 5x equals x minus 6 squared is x minus 6 times x minus 6, and then you double distribute. X squared minus 12x plus 36. So this is your regular quadratic. You're going to set it equal to 0. 0 equals, that'll be x squared. When you add the 5, you get negative 7. Subtract the 30, you get plus 6. And then you can go ahead and do master product, or you can do quadratic formula, or you could do completing the square. If you factor it, your factors would be x minus 6 times x minus 1 when you're done with master product, which gives you x equals 6 and x equals 1. You have to plug these answer choices back in though. When you do, you will get, for the 1, you'll get 5 on the left side, and you'll get negative 5 on the right side, and those two things are not equal. So x equals 1 gets rejected, but x equals 6 will work. Number 15 is find the equation of the parabola. So parabola equation, x minus h squared equals 4 times p times y minus k. Focus at 3,11, directrix at y equals 1. So I suggest that you graph these every time. And then y equals 1 is right here. So you count in the middle, and you'll see that this point right about here is in the middle, and that point is 3, 5. I'm sorry, 3, 6. It's 5 away. 3, 6. And the reason why is because to get to the focus, you would go up 5, and to get to the directrix, you would go down 5. So that means that P is 5. Because it's concave up, it's a positive 5. So then when you plug these two things into your equation, your final answer should be x minus 3 squared equals 4 times p, which is 20, y minus 6. And the last one, number 16, the greater average rate of change on the interval from 6 to 7. So 6 and 7 are your x values for both of them. So here it's a little bit easier, 6 comma 3, 7 comma 6. So you plug this into the slope formula because that's what average rate of change is. So you do 6 minus 3 divided by 7 minus 6, which would give you 3 over 1, or just 3. On the other side, when you plug in 6, you get 23. And when you plug in 7, you get 15. So you plug this into the slope formula as well. So 23 minus 15 over 6 minus 7. That will give you 8 over negative 1, which is negative 8. So which one has the greater average rate of change? H of x because even though 3 is a bigger number than negative 8, we don't care whether we're increasing or decreasing. We just care about by how much we are increasing or decreasing. So h of x is decreasing faster than g of x is increasing. So it's almost like you're looking at the absolute value of the average rate of change. Okay? If you have any questions, make sure that you come to Extra Help on Thursday after school. Have a good night.